Hard work is a standard, not a feeling, because feelings fluctuate while standards remain steady and unmoved by circumstance. When you operate from feelings, your effort becomes inconsistent, reactive, and easily derailed by inconvenience or discomfort. But when you operate from a standard, you rise above emotional turbulence and commit to action regardless of the internal weather. A standard creates a baseline that doesn't shift with your mood, your motivation, or your environment, and that baseline becomes the foundation of excellence. There are days when inspiration flows and energy is high, and there are days when nothing inside you wants to take a single step forward. It is on those days that the truth reveals itself. Your feelings cannot be trusted to guide your future. Your standards, however, will never betray you. They pull you back into focus when distractions try to seduce your mind. They anchor you to your purpose when the noise of life tries to scatter your attention. They remind you that discipline, not desire, is the engine of growth. When you elevate your standards, you elevate your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who honors commitments, someone who does what needs to be done, whether excitement is present or not. This shift changes everything because your actions begin to reflect the person you are becoming rather than the person you've been. High standards create high performance, and high performance builds high confidence. With every consistent action rooted in standards, you reinforce a stronger version of yourself. The power of a standard is that it eliminates negotiation. There is no debate, no bargaining, no questioning whether you feel like showing up. The decision is already made, the work is already defined, the expectation is already set. This removes mental clutter and emotional hesitation, freeing you to operate with clarity and purpose. When you stop negotiating with yourself, you stop losing time, energy, and momentum to internal conflict. Standards simplify the path by removing unnecessary choices. Feelings can cloud your judgment, but standards sharpen it. They give you guidelines for how to act when fatigue sets in, when setbacks hit, or when doubt whispers in your ear. Standards turn chaos into order because they give structure to your days and direction to your decisions. Without standards, life becomes a series of emotional reactions. With standards, life becomes a series of intentional steps forward, each one building upon the last. Hard work as a standard also cultivates integrity with yourself. Every time you follow through despite not feeling like it, you strengthen your inner trust. You build credibility with yourself, which becomes the bedrock of self-respect. When you trust yourself to act consistently, you stop relying on external validation and begin drawing strength from your own discipline. You become your own source of encouragement, your own leader, your own reminder that you are capable of demanding more from yourself. Establishing hard work as a standard naturally separates you from those who rely on motivation. Motivation is a spark, standards are the firewood. Motivation fades, standards endure. While others wait for the perfect moment, the right mood, or a burst of inspiration, you move because you've trained your mind to honor the work regardless of how you feel. This creates an advantage that compounds over time, making your growth inevitable and your progress unstoppable. When you internalize hard work as a standard, it shifts how you view resistance. Instead of seeing challenges as roadblocks, you see them as indicators that you are on the right path. Resistance becomes confirmation that you are stretching, expanding, and stepping into a higher capacity. This perspective keeps you moving when others quit because you understand that difficulty isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign that you are building endurance and resilience. Making hard work a standard also deepens your sense of purpose. When your effort is anchored in something greater than convenience, you begin to see the significance behind every action, no matter how small. You recognize that each step forward contributes to a greater vision, a larger mission, a future you are actively constructing. This awareness fuels your persistence because you understand that your consistency today shapes your reality tomorrow. Ultimately, when hard work becomes a standard, your life becomes intentional rather than accidental. You move with direction instead of drifting. You create outcomes instead of waiting for them. You operate from principle instead of emotion. And every day you reinforce the truth that greatness is not achieved by those who feel like working, but by those who choose to work repeatedly until their standards manifest into the life they envisioned. Momentum is self-created because movement begins long before results appear, and it starts with a decision to act, even when nothing around you is encouraging that action. Most people wait for circumstances to shift, for motivation to rise, or for clarity to magically arrive. But momentum doesn't come from external conditions. It comes from your willingness to take the first step without certainty, without applause, and without proof that it will work. The simple act of starting becomes the spark that ignites everything else, turning small efforts into compounding progress. When you understand that momentum comes from you, you stop treating motivation as a requirement and start treating action as the catalyst. You push yourself to move even when you feel slow, tired, or uninspired, because you know that the energy you need will appear after you start, not before. Action activates emotion. Action awakens clarity. Action creates the internal power that people mistakenly think they must wait for. By moving first, you generate the force that carries you forward. Self-created momentum builds confidence because with each step, you prove to yourself that you are capable of generating your own drive. Every time you take action without waiting for the perfect conditions, you strengthen the belief that you can make things happen through deliberate effort. Confidence isn't born from success, it is born from movement, especially when the movement feels difficult. The more you act, the more you trust your ability to act again. Another powerful truth about momentum is that it multiplies through consistency. One disciplined action makes the next one easier. One completed task builds the mental muscle to complete the next. Before long, what once felt heavy begins to feel natural, and what once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable. Momentum turns discipline into rhythm and rhythm into lifestyle. It transforms sporadic effort into steady progress, creating a flow that sustains you even during challenging moments. Self-created momentum also protects you from stagnation. When you wait for external validation or emotional inspiration, days pass, opportunities fade, and hesitation becomes a habit. But when you take responsibility for generating your own movement, you break the cycle of waiting. You train your mind to favor action over delay and decisions over doubt. This shift keeps you advancing while others remain stuck in the loop of indecision. As you build momentum, you begin to notice how much your internal state affects the direction of your life. When you choose movement, you shift your focus from what is lacking to what is possible. A single action can change your perspective, open new pathways, and create opportunities you couldn't see before. Momentum expands your vision because forward motion reveals views you never access by standing still. Creating your own momentum also builds resilience. When challenges arise, you've already trained yourself to push through resistance. You've developed a habit of doing the necessary work regardless of how you feel. This makes you harder to discourage and more difficult to stop. Obstacles don't halt your progress because you've conditioned yourself to remain in motion, even when movement feels slow or imperfect. Momentum generated from within gives you control over your journey. Instead of relying on others to motivate you, remind you, or push you, you become your own source of drive. You learn to carry your own weight, fuel your own goals, and lead yourself with intention. This autonomy frees you from external dependency and gives you the strength to continue even when no one is watching or cheering. With every action you take, you build a kind of internal momentum that extends beyond tasks and goals. Your mind becomes sharper, your habits become stronger, and your capacity grows. The energy you create through movement spills over into other areas of your life, influencing how you think, speak, and show up. Momentum doesn't stay isolated, it spreads, lifting your entire life to a higher standard through repeated action. Ultimately, momentum is self-created because transformation begins with the individual who decides to stop waiting and start moving. It develops through deliberate steps, intentional effort, and the willingness to act long before the results appear. And once that momentum takes hold, it becomes a force that reshapes your identity, redefines your discipline, and pushes you into levels of achievement you once doubted you could reach. Discomfort is the birthplace of transformation because growth never happens inside the boundaries of what feels familiar, easy, or predictable. The moment you step into discomfort, you interrupt the patterns that keep you stagnant and open the door to new levels of strength, clarity, and capability. It is in those unfamiliar spaces where your old limits are challenged and your untapped potential begins to rise. Discomfort stretches you beyond who you were so you can discover who you are becoming. When you allow yourself to enter uncomfortable situations, you expose yourself to the very forces required for development. Muscles don't grow without resistance, minds don't expand without challenge, and spirits don't mature without pressure. Discomfort introduces the friction necessary to build endurance, sharpen focus, and deepen resilience. It becomes the training ground where you learn to operate with courage rather than convenience, progress rather than protection. People often fear discomfort because it disrupts their routines and pushes them beyond the identity they're used to defending. Yet the truth is that staying comfortable keeps you trapped in cycles that no longer serve you. Comfort offers ease, but it also offers limitation. Discomfort offers difficulty, but it also offers evolution. When you choose discomfort, you choose your future over your familiarity, refusing to be confined by the boundaries of who you used to be. Transformation demands that you confront parts of yourself that comfort allows you to avoid. In discomfort, you face your doubts, your excuses, your insecurities, and your patterns. It is only in these challenging moments that you truly see what needs to be released, what needs to be strengthened, and what needs to be rebuilt. Discomfort shines a light on the areas where growth is required and invites you to step into a higher version of yourself. Every breakthrough you're seeking is on the other side of uncomfortable decisions and difficult actions. Discomfort forces you to grow capacity by requiring more of you than you're used to giving. It pushes you past your thresholds and teaches you that you are capable of far more than you believed. As you stretch, you discover new levels of discipline, new layers of mental toughness, and new depths of determination. The transformation that emerges is not accidental. It's earned through the challenges you choose to embrace. Walking through discomfort strengthens your character because it teaches you to stand firm when life becomes inconvenient. Instead of collapsing under pressure, you develop the ability to adapt, adjust, and push forward. This character growth becomes a silent force that influences every area of your life. It prepares you to handle greater responsibility, bigger opportunities, and more significant challenges with confidence rather than fear. When you stop avoiding discomfort, you stop avoiding the experiences designed to shape you. The goals you want, the habits you desire, and the identity you envision all require choices that won't feel easy. By willingly stepping into discomfort, you align yourself with the process of becoming. You create a mindset that embraces challenge rather than resisting it. And this mindset becomes the key to achieving long-term transformation. Discomfort also has a way of revealing your true values and priorities. When things get difficult, your real motivations become clear. You learn what you genuinely care about, what you're willing to fight for, and what you're ready to let go of. This clarity strengthens your direction and sharpens your purpose, making your journey not only more intentional, but more powerful. As you grow through discomfort, you begin to notice that the things that once intimidated you no longer hold the same power. What was once overwhelming becomes manageable, and what was once impossible becomes normal. Discomfort gradually transforms into strength, confidence, and experience, all of which elevate your capacity to handle whatever comes next. The cycles of challenge become cycles of growth, each one expanding your ability to rise higher. In the end, discomfort becomes a gift because it creates the environment where transformation can take root. It strips away the illusion of limitation, exposes the areas where you need to grow, and builds the resilience required for your next level. By embracing discomfort, you step into a continual journey of renewal, expansion, and evolution, shaping yourself into someone stronger, wiser, and more aligned with the greatness you were designed to embody. Consistency beats talent because talent without discipline is nothing more than unrealized potential, while steady action has the power to create results that raw ability alone can never achieve. Talent may give someone a head start, but consistency determines who finishes the race. The person who shows up day after day, even without natural advantages, eventually surpasses the one who relies solely on their innate gifts. Over time, repetition compounds into mastery, and mastery becomes the force that outshines talent every single time. Consistency creates momentum, and momentum creates breakthroughs. When you commit to showing up, even in small ways, you build a rhythm that carries you forward. This rhythm becomes a stabilizing force that pushes you through doubt, distraction, and discouragement. Every repeated effort strengthens your foundation and makes the next step easier. Eventually, the work that once felt overwhelming becomes routine, and what once required discipline becomes instinct. This evolution is only possible through steady, uninterrupted action. Talent often leads to comfort, but consistency leads to growth. People who depend on talent alone rarely push themselves beyond their limits because things come easily at first. But those who have learned to be consistent understand the power of perseverance. They know the value of grinding through difficulty, showing up on tough days, and staying committed even when progress seems slow. This persistence builds stamina, adaptability, and grit, qualities that talent cannot replace. Consistency builds trust with yourself. Every time you follow through on your commitments, you reinforce the belief that you can rely on your own actions. This inner trust becomes the fuel that keeps you moving forward. You stop waiting for motivation to carry you because you've trained your mind to move without it. When you trust yourself to be consistent, you become unstoppable because your progress no longer depends on how you feel on any given day. One of the greatest advantages of consistency is that it compounds in the background, quietly multiplying the value of your effort. You may not see dramatic changes at first, but every day you stay committed, you add another layer to your skill, your understanding, and your capacity. Over weeks, months, and years, this accumulation transforms into undeniable results. The person who stays in motion eventually reaches levels that talent alone could never achieve. Consistency also has a way of revealing what truly matters. When you commit to doing something regularly, you begin to refine your process, sharpen your focus, and eliminate what doesn't serve your goals. This clarity helps you channel your energy into the areas that produce the greatest impact. Instead of being scattered or easily distracted, you develop a targeted mindset that prioritizes progress over perfection and execution over excuses. Through consistency, you develop resilience because you're constantly practicing how to move in the face of obstacles. Life will present setbacks, delays, and unexpected challenges, but consistent people learn to adapt rather than retreat. They know how to navigate adversity because they've built the habit of continuing despite difficulty. This resilience becomes a competitive advantage that surpasses talent, which often crumbles under pressure. Consistency transforms identity. Each time you take action, you reinforce a belief about who you are becoming. You go from someone who tries to someone who commits, from someone who starts to someone who finishes. Identity shapes behavior, and consistent behavior shapes identity. This cycle strengthens your sense of purpose and empowers you to pursue greater levels of achievement with confidence and clarity. Talent may open doors, but consistency keeps them open. Opportunities often reward those who are dependable, disciplined, and dedicated. When you show up consistently, people begin to trust your reliability, which leads to new paths, new connections, and greater influence. Talent might get someone noticed, but consistency earns respect, credibility, and long-term success. In the end, consistency becomes the difference maker because it transforms average effort into extraordinary results. It bridges the gap between intention and execution, turning dreams into habits and habits into achievements. While talent sets the stage, consistency writes the script, directs the performance, and delivers the outcome that defines a person's legacy. Every disciplined action is a vote for your future because each choice you make shapes the direction of your life, whether you realize it or not. Discipline isn't just about completing tasks. It's about casting deliberate votes for the person you are becoming. Every time you choose structure over chaos, action over delay, and purpose over comfort, you reinforce a future that reflects your highest intentions. These actions accumulate quietly, forming the blueprint for the life you will eventually live. When you choose discipline in small moments, you build momentum toward bigger moments. The future is not created through occasional grand gestures, but through the consistent, often unnoticed decisions you make each day. A single disciplined action may seem insignificant on its own, but over time, these actions stack on top of one another, creating a foundation that becomes unshakable. What feels minor today becomes meaningful tomorrow because each step contributes to the larger picture. Discipline strengthens your identity because it aligns your behavior with your values. When you consistently act in ways that support your goals, you begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who is dependable and intentional. This alignment creates confidence, not from words or intentions, but from evidence. You develop a deep sense of trust in your ability to shape your destiny because your actions validate your goals rather than contradict them. Every disciplined action is an investment that pays dividends in clarity. When you choose discipline, you eliminate confusion about who you are and what you want. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. This clarity influences your decisions, your habits, and your environment. The more you invest in disciplined action, the clearer your path becomes, and the easier it is to make choices that support the future you desire. Discipline also protects your future from being hijacked by temporary emotions. Feelings change from moment to moment, but disciplined action creates continuity. When you honor your commitments, even when you feel tired, unmotivated, or uncertain, you ensure that your future is not dictated by your moods. Instead, it becomes shaped by your principles. Every disciplined step becomes a reminder that your future deserves more than momentary impulses. Choosing disciplined action builds endurance. The more you practice discipline, the more capable you become of handling challenges, pressure, and responsibility. This endurance prepares you for opportunities that require maturity, strength, and consistency. Without discipline, opportunities slip away because you lack the capacity to sustain them. But with every discipline decision, you prepare yourself to not only receive, but also maintain the blessings you seek. Discipline influences what you attract into your life. When your actions align with your future, you begin to draw in people, opportunities, and experiences that match your direction. Your life starts reflecting your effort. People respond to your consistency. Doors open because you've built the reputation and the internal context to walk through them with confidence. Discipline signals to the world that you are serious about your path, and the world responds accordingly. Your future is shaped by the habits you maintain daily, and disciplined actions form the core of those habits. Repeating these actions trains your mind to default toward excellence rather than mediocrity. Over time, this conditioning makes discipline feel less like a struggle and more like a natural part of who you are. The habits you cultivate today will be the results you experience tomorrow, and every disciplined choice reinforces a pattern that leads to growth. Every disciplined action serves as a reminder that you are an active participant in your future rather than a passive observer. You are not waiting for chance or luck to shift your life. You are taking deliberate steps that rewrite the trajectory of your story. This sense of agency empowers you to keep going even when progress seems slow, because you understand that each action matters, each choice builds momentum, and each moment of discipline contributes to long-term transformation. When you treat every disciplined action as a vote, you begin to see your effort differently. You stop viewing discipline as a chore and start seeing it as an opportunity to cast a ballot for the future you want. Each day becomes a new election, and every choice becomes a vote for growth, for purpose, for strength, and for the person you know you can become. Your next level is waiting on your commitment, because elevation never responds to wishful thinking. It responds to decisive action. The version of you that you're trying to step into requires more than desire. It requires devotion to the process. Your next level isn't hiding from you. It's simply demanding a level of seriousness, responsibility, and consistency that matches the greatness you're asking for. Commitment becomes the bridge between where you are and where you are meant to be. Commitment is the moment you stop negotiating with your potential. It's the moment you decide that excuses are too expensive, distractions are too costly, and delay is too dangerous. When you commit, you shift from hoping to executing, from dreaming to doing. This shift activates a different level of focus within you. You start aligning your thoughts, habits, and behavior with the future you desire, and that alignment creates the momentum needed to break through your current limitations. Your next level requires a version of you that refuses to to quit when things get uncomfortable. Commitment demands persistence even when the results are not immediate. Many people want transformation, but few want the uncomfortable consistency that transformation requires. When you decide to stay committed through the challenges, the dry seasons, and the moments of doubt, you prove to yourself that you are prepared for the level you're reaching for. The next level isn't about talent, it's about tenacity. Commitment restructures your priorities. It forces you to let go of habits, relationships, and environments that no longer support your growth. You begin to choose what nourishes your destiny rather than what entertains your distraction. This shift may feel uncomfortable at first, but it is necessary. Every level requires a new level of discipline, and commitment gives you the courage to prune anything that stunts your progress. Your next level is not waiting on more information, it is waiting on the application of what you already know. Many people stay stuck in preparation mode, convincing themselves that they need more time, more resources, or more validation. But commitment closes the gap between knowledge and execution. It pushes you to act on what you've learned and trust yourself to grow along the way. Greatness isn't achieved by those who know the most, but by those who act on what they know. When you commit, you give your vision permission to grow roots. You stop treating your goals as optional and start treating them as non-negotiable. This mental shift strengthens your resilience because you understand that setbacks are part of the journey, not signs of failure. Commitment creates an internal anchor that stabilizes you when situations become unpredictable. You remain grounded in purpose even when life challenges your persistence. Commitment sharpens your identity. It forces you to redefine who you are and who you're becoming. You begin to make choices that reflect the person you aspire to be, not the person you used to be. With every committed action, you reinforce a new standard for your life. This identity shift becomes the fuel that propels you forward because you start believing in your ability to handle greater responsibility and greater opportunity. Your next level requires emotional maturity, the ability to follow through even when your feelings do not cooperate. Commitment teaches you to separate your emotions from your decisions. Instead of waiting to feel motivated, you move because you made a promise to yourself. This emotional discipline becomes a superpower, allowing you to maintain progress while others get trapped in cycles of inconsistency. As you commit, you activate doors that were once closed. Opportunities begin to appear because you are finally operating at the frequency of the future you're pursuing. People notice your consistency, energy, and determination. The world responds to those who are serious about their purpose. Commitment acts as a magnet, pulling resources, connections, and possibilities toward you. Your next level is waiting on your commitment because everything you want already exists. It's simply waiting for you to become the person capable of receiving it. Each day you choose discipline, each moment you choose focus, and each action you take with intention moves you closer to the reality you envision. Your next level is not earned by chance, but by the unwavering commitment to become more, give more, and rise higher than the person you were yesterday.